Okay, so today's topic would be Hibernate mapping with annotations. Clear? See, still now we have seen XML mappings. Now what do you mean by XML mappings? See, we were writing the Hibernate code now, and what we are doing is, for doing the mapping of the entity properties with the columns of the table, we were using the XML. So using the XML, we are mapping all the properties of the Java class with the columns of the table now. But today's class, we'll see how to do the same mapping with the help of what? Annotations. That's the concept I'll be covering today. Fine. So for doing that, we have to follow some steps. We'll see all the steps now. So yes, for doing Hibernate mapping with annotations, the step number one would be, create a table in database. Means first you have to create a table. Okay. So and this table, what we are going to have, will have 3 columns. Okay. So what we are going to do is, we are going to insert a record into this particular table using Hibernate, but the mapping will be done with annotations. Done? So fine, this is the table. So the 3 columns which are present in this table are EMPID is one column, ename is another column, salary is another column. So these are the 3 columns. So this is the first step. Okay. Now, so after doing this, now the step number 2. What is the step number 2? You have to write the Java class. You have to write the Java class which represents the table in database now. Okay. So means you are having one table now. Okay, you have to write a Java class which represents that table. Means I'll write on Java class. See, this is a class employee. It will be representing that particular table now. It will represent it. And along with that, how it will represent is, how many other columns are there in that table now, those many properties this particular class will have now. So what are the different properties now? Notice here. Private int EID is one property of employee class. Then one more property you are having now. Private string NAME. Correct? Then the next property what you are having is private int sal. So there are 3 columns. So that's why I am having what? 3 properties. These are the 3 properties. So this is what you are doing. That's the step number 2. Write a Java class which represents the table in database now. Fine. Step number 2 over. Now coming to the third step. So step number 3 is what? Do the mapping of properties and columns using annotations. So you written the Java class. You have created the table. Now you have to do the mapping now. So how do you do the mapping? See this carefully now. So I'll be doing with the help of annotations. So look at the first annotation used here, @entity. So this annotation is used at the class level. See, I'm using @entity at the class. Correct? And one more annotation which I'm using at the class level is @table. Now what do these 2 annotations do? See, @entity tells that this is a Java class which will be used as a entity. Fine. Now next annotation, @table. Yes, this entity class has to be mapped with one table now. So to map that, I'll be using the annotation called as @table, and I'll use name is the attribute of this annotation. Okay, and I'll give the value of employee. What is this employee now? It is the name of the table in your database. That same name you have to provide here now. So this entity class will be mapped with that employee table. So that is done now. Next. So these are the 2 annotations what we have used. Next, the other annotations now. See this, private int EID. On top of this field or property, I am using 3 annotations. What are the 3 annotations I am using? @ID, @column, @generated value are the 3 annotations I am using for private int EID. What are they? One by one we'll see now. See, this field or property will be mapped with what? The primary column of your, primary key column of your, this is the primary key column now. Yes, the EMPID will be the primary key. So this property will be mapped with that primary key column. So that's the reason I'll use @ID. So @ID is used for the property. @ID annotation will be used for the property which will be mapped to the primary key column of the table now. Next, the next annotation is @column. Yes, this is the property, but it will be mapped with which column of the table now. So that's the reason I'm using @column annotation. There's an attribute here called as a name, and we are saying EMPID. What is EMPID now? It is the column in the table of the database. So it will be mapped now. So @column, so which one? Name is equal to EMPID. And the next annotation now, @generated value. See, we want our primary key value to be automatically generated. So that's the reason I'm using what? @generated value. Okay, so this is the annotation. Now strategy is the attribute of generated value annotation. Now generation type dot auto is the enum we are using. Clear? So generated type dot enum we'll use, and we'll provide the value of that enum to strategy attribute. Fine. So these are the three annotations we should use for EID now. Now coming to the next property, which is that NME. So let's see how to do the mapping now. Yes. So the next property, NME, has to be mapped with what? Ename. For that I'm using only one annotation. See very clearly. What is that? At the rate of column, and I'm very clearly telling this property should be mapped with what? Ename column. Very simple. At the rate of column, name is equal to ename. That's all. Clear? So fine. For the next property now, which one? Sal. Private int sal. It has to be mapped with what? Salary column. For that also I'll use only one annotation called as column. Name is equal to salary. So this is how it will be mapped now. So you have done the mapping of this entity class with what? The table of the database, that is employee table, using annotations. So that is the third step. So remember now, you will not be having your employee.hbm.xml file. Why you will not be having that file? Because we are doing the mapping with annotations. That will be gone now. So one file will be eliminated. Fine. So that is step number 3. Now coming to step number 4, you have to write the Hibernate configuration file now. So this file is mandatory now. And in this file, what will you provide the information? Two important information you have to provide. One is the database connection details, and the other one would be provide the location of entity class. You will be having your class employee now, you will be saving it in your package or somewhere. So the location of that entity class should be specified. These are the two vital informations you have to write in this configuration file, and the name of this file will be what? Hibernate.cfg.xml. So hibernate.cfg.xml file will contain these two vital information, the database connection details and the location of entity class. That is step number 4. Lastly, the step number 5 would be you have to write the client code. Means write your client code now and you can get your output. Means one record will be, if you run the program now, one record will be inserted into your table now. I'll just insert one record. Something like example 101 Ravi 1000. I'll go with primary key value will be 1 Ravi 1000, 2 Kumar 2000. I'll insert two records and I'll be showing you this. Clear? So this is the whole concept now. You understood the concept, only I have to code and show you this now. So this is a very simple concept, how you do the mapping with annotations. Shall I clear this now? Now before I proceed, just understand this point now. Note, this is a very important note. Write it. See, you are using annotations here, yes or no? Okay, which are the different annotations you are using? At the rate of entity, table, ID, column. Okay, so all these annotations, what you are using, should be used from one package called as javax.persistence package. Use all annotations from javax.persistence package. This is one very important note. Second, generally, so you are using the annotations. Yes, these annotations you are using now. ID, column, generated value, again column. These annotations which are using now. These annotations can be either applied either onto the field or to the methods. So annotations can be applied to either the field or getter methods. Generally, you can apply it. So generally, annotations will be, I'll make it as will be applied to fields or getter methods. And this one, okay, is the international standard. Everybody, when they are using the annotation, they will be using it on getter methods. Now what do I mean by that is, see, these are the fields, EID, NME, SAL. These are the fields or properties, correct? So you are using the annotations. Whatever annotations you are using now, these are you are using on the field. If you are not interested to apply on the field, you can apply it on the getter methods also. Okay, getter methods means you'll have get EID, get NME, get sal. So on those getter methods you can apply these annotations. Okay, so that's what I'm telling you. General annotations will be applied on fields or to fields or getter method. The international standard followed is to apply the annotations on getter methods. Here I have written it on fields, but international, it will also work, this will also work, but what we do is we generally while coding we do it on getter methods only. So this is the convention followed worldwide convention we say, means everybody will follow this only. So even while I am coding, I will apply it on getter methods and I will type and show you now. Clear this? Fine. Shall I clear everything? Okay, now I'll start coding now, and now I have to follow the, I'll get the same output now. Okay, and I'll first step now. What should I do for coding? First step, we are starting with the first step number 1. I have to create the table now. So yes, I'm going to create a table called as employee in the MySQL database. Clear? So first I'll go to MySQL. See this. I'll log into MySQL database. Fine. So in this database, I'll enter the user called as test. So I'll be using the test user. Clear? So I'm in the test user now. So in this user, okay, let us see how many tables are there. Show tables. There is a table called as employee in the user called as test. It's on schema. Test is on schema or user. In that schema or user, there is one table called as employee. Fine. So now what will I do? See, for my project, now what I am going to code for my project also I need what? Employee table. So it is always recommended whenever you are coding your project, which on an example, it's better you delete the previous table and then create a new one. So I'll also do the same thing now. I'll drop this table. Drop table employee. Fine. So the table is dropped now. So after dropping the table, I'll create my table now. See this. Create. I'll create my employee table now. Create table employee. Yes. So my table called as employee will need 3 columns. What are the 3 columns now? EMP ID is the name of the first column. Data type will be int. Size is 5. So we'll make this as the primary key. And I'll use auto increment for this. Auto increment. Yeah. So this is the first column. Then the next column would be what? E-name. And the size I'll specify is 30. Fine. Then the next column is salary and size I'll specify 5. Employee. Yes, sir. So the query got executed and the table has been created now. So let's see this. Select. I'll say select star from employee. Right now there are no records in this table. Yeah, there are no records. I've created a new table and there are no records. So step number 1 is done now. So now we have to go with what? Step number 2. Step number 2 is what? Writing the Java class. Yes, we write the Java class in our using Eclipse. So I'll go to Eclipse now. So I'll open Eclipse. I'll use the same workspace, Hibernate examples. Yes. So now I have to create one project now. New Java project 04 basic. I'll give some name. I'll give it as basic annotation. No, so I'll say give some name as basic anno. Some name you give it now for basic anno. So yes, your project has got created. So now what is the next step what you have to do? You have to add the jar files. We need all the jars now, we'll add it now. So you know how to add the jars now? Both the Hibernate jars and MySQL jar you add now. Right click, properties, build path, add external jars. So all these jars, Hibernate jars I am adding now. Clear? Then next one more jar we need. Which one? A MySQL jar. No? So you add that also. So we added all the Hibernate jars and MySQL jar. So yes, your project is ready now. Yes. So next I have to create a package. So I'll create a package now. I click on src, new package com.cluster, finish. So the package is ready now. Next what you have to do? We are going to step number 2. That's the main thing. Which one? Write the Java class which represents what? The table now. So I'll write it now. And the name of the Java class will be what? Employee. So class employee. Yes, done. So yes, this class should contain what? Properties, and each property will be mapped with the column of the table. So I have to write now. Private int eid. Private string name. Then private int sal. So after writing the properties, we have to write what? Setter getters. So I'll generate the setters and getters. Yes. So right now our entity is ready, or the second step what we have to do is ready. We have to write the Java class which represents the which is representing the table of employee table. Correct? So it is done. So there are 3 properties representing one column. So now we have to go to the third step. So what is the third step? You have to do the mapping with annotations. This class has to be mapped with what? The table called as employee. So I'll do the mapping now. See this. That is nothing but ORM, object relational mapping we are doing now. See, first I'll use the annotation. So I'll use the annotation called as @NTT. Clear? So I'll say control space. Just see this. As soon as I say control space, we'll get the drop down. So you can see entity on 2 annotations are there. This is one entity annotation, this is the entity annotation. The first annotation you can notice it's coming from javax.persistence package. One more annotation you're seeing @entity, but it is there in which package? org.hibernate.annotations package. So do not use that annotation. Which one? The bottom one which is there in the org.hibernate package. Don't use it. I'll just use it and show it to you. See this? So I'm using the one which is there in org.hibernate package. See, it is deprecated. They're telling not to use this. So that's why before coding I wrote use all annotations from javax.persistence package. So don't do this. Okay. So what you'll do is control space. Now see this. Use the annotation from which one? javax.persistence package. That's why I made a very clear note at the beginning. Use all annotations. All the annotations should be used from only javax.persistence package. So I'll use this. Done. It's the same name, but they are coming from 2 packages. Use the one from javax.persistence package. Fine. I've used @entity. Then next we have to go with what? The next annotation is @table. Yes, again table also you can notice there are 2 annotations. One in javax.persistence package. The other one is in org.hibernate.annotations package. But I'll use the one which is present in javax.persistence package. Yes, sir. So now there's an attribute for this annotation. So I'll use the attribute called as name is equal to employee. What this means, see the two annotations, what they are doing. The first annotation entity tells that this is a Java class which will be used as an entity. Yeah. The second annotation, what we are using, at the rate of table, we are telling that this class is representing which table? Employee table in the database. Okay, so this is the annotation, this is the attribute, this is the string value. We are giving a string value to that, and the name of the table I am giving to this. So done, you are finished with these two annotations. So these two are over. Now we have to map the properties of this class with what? Columns of the table now. The properties of this class should be mapped with columns of the table now. So how will you do it? Yes, as I told you again, now I have to use the annotations at the rate of ID, at the rate of column. Those annotations I can either use it on the fields, directly I can use it here. Means when I wrote it at the beginning of the class on the board, I was using it on the fields. You can either use it on the fields or you can use it on what? The getter methods. But I told you the worldwide convention followed is using the annotations on getter methods. So I will get the output on getter methods only. If you want, you can try applying those annotations on fields and get the output. But I will be going with the convention, means I will be applying on getter methods. Are you clear with this? So yes, see now I start using the annotations. The first one now. So I have to use what? At the rate of ID. Means, yeah, again this is also from what? JavaX dot persistence package. So this will be used as what? This will be used for mapping with the primary key column. So I am saying ID. Fine. But you have to specify the column name now. You know all the annotations now. At the rate of column. Yeah, this also I will be using from what? JavaX dot persistence package. Carefully notice on the top all are coming from what? JavaX dot persistence package. Yeah. So for this I have to use one more. I have to use an attribute. Means this property will be mapped with which column of the table. So name is equal to, it will be mapped with emp id. Correct? Huh? Yes. Then the next annotation, we want the primary key value to be automatically generated now. So for that I'll use what? At the rate of generated value I have to use. JavaX dot persistence package. Done. So for this there is an attribute called as strategy. Strategy, I have to give a value. So I have to give a enum value. What is that enum value? Generation type dot auto. So this enum value I have to give. So I'll give that enum value now. Clear? So fine. So see, I have applied all the annotations, 3 annotations on the getter method now. On get EID I applied. Correct? So fine. So next, we have finished the mapping of ID with what? Means the EID and the EMP ID both have been mapped. I have to go with the second mapping now, the second property mapping. That is, I have to map NME with ename. So I'll do that next. So again for that, doing that, where I'll go? I'll be using the annotation on get NME. See, I'll be applying it on the getter method. So at the rate of, what I'll use? Column. Yes, which property? This property is to be mapped with name is equal to the column name now. E name. Done. So you are done. That's very simple now. Doing the mapping of this property with what? The e name column. Fine. That is done. Next. At the rate of again column. Yes. Name is equal to which column now? Salary column. Yes. SALARY. Done. So we have finished all the mapping now. All the mapping has been done with help of what now? Annotations. So we will be not writing employee.hbm.xml file because we have done the mapping using annotations now. So third step is finished. So now we have to go to the fourth step. Which is the fourth step? You have to write the configuration file. Correct? So that configuration file I have already shown you how to write in the previous examples and all that. So what I'll do, I'll just copy paste it. So I'll go to my previous example. You'll find that cfg hibernate.cfg.xml file in src folder. Copy it, yeah, and paste it into your project. That's it. I've shown you how to code. It is there. So fine. In this cfg.xml file, I'll open it now. I've shown you how to code this. What are the information you have to provide here? One is the database connection details. So that is already there. Notice driver class, URL, username, password, all that you have given. Okay. But one more information we have to provide. Two information we have to provide. provide database connection details, it's already there since you have copied pasted. The second information what we provide is the location of entity class. Yes, so for that I'll use the same tag, which one? Mapping tag only I'll use. In this tag there is one attribute called as class. Done? This one small change you have to do in hibernate.cfg.xml file if you are using annotations. Yes, now your class is in which package? It's a class. So give the fully qualified class name com dot, next what? Cluster dot employee. So you have to give the fully qualified class name here. Clear? So mapping class is equal to com dot cluster dot employee. So your hibernate.cfg.xml file is ready now, if you do that much. So then third step is what? This was the fourth step. This was the fourth step. Then we have to go to the last step now, fifth step, which is that write the client code now. So that's it. So we'll see how to write it now. Yeah. So yes. So I'll write here. See, in com.cluster I'll write my demo class demo I'll write, and I need public static void main. Fine. So here I have to write the Hibernate client code now. What you have to write? Configuration con is equal to new configuration and all that you have to write. Do not write it again and again. So you already written on util class. Copy and paste it directly from the previous project. So directly from the util class we can get your session factory. See, I'll copy the Hibernate util class from the previous project, copy it, paste it. So this is your util class. Okay, so see this, if you want the client code directly you can use that itself. So start from now on, don't code the util, which one, that client code, whatever configuration con is equal to new configuration, start using your util class. So see how I'll get the session factory now. Session factory sf is equal to my hibernate util dot get session factory. That's it. Done. So next, from the session factory what will I get? Session cs is equal to sf dot open session. Done. So now from the session I'll get what? Transaction tx is equal to cs dot get transaction. Yes, now I'll begin my transaction. Tx dot begin. Done. Fine. Then next here I'll tell what. So this is your client code. You have got the session now. But I want to save my employee now. So first I'll create my object of employee now. See this. emp dot set NME. What is the name? First record Ravi, correct? So emp dot set sal 1000. Fine. So it is this entity I want to save it in the database. So what will I do now? See this. So you written all this code now. Just say what? Session dot save. That's it. And pass your emp. That's it. Okay, and then now we'll say what? Transaction dot commit. Then close your resources one by one. SES dot close. Session dot close. Then session factory dot close. That's it. So this is your client code. Clear? So now if you want to insert this into the database, just run your program now. Are you clear? So I'll run the code now. See this. Yes, sir. So you can see that the query has been generated and a record has been inserted into the table now. So let's go to MySQL and check. See, earlier select star from employee, there are no records. Same query I'll execute. You can see one record has got inserted, Ravi and 1000. Fine. If you want to insert one more record now, which is that? Kumar and 2000. Fine. Just change the value, run your code now. So one more record will be inserted into database now. So done. So you saw how to insert this now, but we did it with the help of what? Annotations. So we saw annotation mappings today. Clear? So one more thing, see this. Generally when you are coding in projects also, okay, the client code you have to understand here. When you are coding in projects, your web projects and all that, you'll be using Hibernate in the DO layer, as I told you, data access object layer. So now you don't have to write the Hibernate client code through in all the DO classes. So what you'll be doing is you'll be writing on util class, and like this Hibernate util, which will give you the session factory, and in all the DOs you'll be just calling what? My Hibernate util.get session factory, and you'll get the session factory. So only these many lines of code you have to write. Which one? Up till session.close. In your web project, do not say session factory.close, because you have to use the same session factory object throughout your application, but it is mandatory that in everywhere wherever you use the session, it has to be closed. So always close session, but never close session factory. And if you notice in your DO now, see, your client means your persistence code will be hardly how many lines now? Just 5 to 6 lines. And imagine all this data will be saved into the database. So this is how, if you use Hibernate, the coding reduces and you don't have to learn the native SQL queries. So that's simple, your coding becomes where in the persistence layer. If you use Hibernate in the persistence layer, coding in DO becomes very, very easy. Clear? So this class I have covered what? How to do annotation mappings. So go and type this example. Yeah? Yes. Now before we complete the class now, I'll give you some information about annotations. See this. About annotations. The most important thing. See, 2 points you have to understand. One is class level information. Class level information means if you want to give any information about the class, generally in all the latest technologies today, okay, what are coming out, you can do it in 2 ways. One is with XML configuration, other one is with annotations. So class level information can be done in 2 ways. One, XML, this is the old traditional style, okay, and the other one is the latest, annotations. Both can be used. Yeah, this is the latest. So whichever one you want, you can use this. Yeah. So then there is one more. What you have to understand about annotations. See, about class level information you will be using annotation, but there is one more thing what you have to understand. There is something called as environment configuration. For environment configuration, we always use XML. Environment configuration means if you want to do any configuration about an environment, like say I was providing the database connection details and all that, that's nothing but an environment you're setting there. So there and all it will be mandatory for you to use XML. Okay, so that's what. So that's why for environment configuration in this Hibernate, we are using which file? Hibernate.cfg.xml file. So here you have to use mandatory hibernate.cfg.xml file, and you have to use XML only. Clear? But if you want to provide class level information, I can do the mapping, class level information about the the class. I can either do it with the help of XML or with the help of annotation. If you use annotations, that time you will have no mapping file. Which mapping file? Your employee example, employee.hbm.xml file. This is a mapping file. You will not be having it if you use annotations. But if you use XML, you will have to write mapping file. Clear? So this much if you understand about annotations, that is more than sufficient. Clear? Fine then. Yes sir. See again, before I complete the class, I have written that SQL query now. So that query what I will do, I will put it into the project, so that it will be easy for you to refer to the query, and it will be easy whenever you want you can refer to it. Just a second. For reference purpose, I will do it for you. So this was the query I wrote. Which one? Create table employee. We created a table using this query. Create table employee. The same query I will copy and put it into your project, so that it will be easy for reference to you. See this. So I will create a new file in the projects here. Right click, new file, employee.sql. So in this file, I am just pasting that query so that you can refer to that. Clear? One more query I'll write there. Drop table employee, means first always drop the table, then create your table. Clear? So this query I written. One last thing you understand, whenever you are creating a column in MySQL database, never give the column name as name. That one thing you remember, because in MySQL, if you give the column name as name, it will not work properly, because there is an object, DB object called as name in MySQL database. So that's why I used ename. That's it. So this is the query. So you can write it, and always for primary key also use auto increment. If you use these things, you will not face any problem. Clear? Auto increment you have to use, as well as do not give the column name as name. That's it. Okay, that's it.